Welcome to the Street Cred podcast, the show laser focused on helping turn your streetwear brand into a full-time career. I'm Elijah Delport, and today I'm joined with the co-owner of Push Pull. He's great at his job, Chief of Marketing, George Harte. How are you, George?
I am very good, and what a professional intro. Pumping my tires up, making me sound very good as the car goes by. But yeah, love that. It's very good to sit down with you, and we'll get into some really good chats, I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this conversation, George. For those who've been living under a rock, have no idea who Push Pull is or who you are, George, could you give? I've introduced you a little bit, but I'd love to hear who are you and what do you do? Tell us a little more.
I don't think you'd have to be living under a rock. I reckon it's a lot of people. But yeah, my name's George. I am so blessed and grateful to be able to work at a place called Push Pull, which me and my best mate Vincent, we run together. So I've been around for sort of the last 4 years, and yeah, we love to sort of make clothes and sort of build a community and have amazing like-minded people join our sort of platform and have a space where people can really connect and be themselves and also kind of make some pretty cool clothes, I reckon. But yeah, that's sort of what we do here.
What's your favorite part of running a streetwear brand, George?
A person like me is I love connecting with people, and I think that's sort of like my passion is helping people and connecting with people. And I just have this amazing outlet and this vehicle that I'm able to make someone's day, whether that could be sending them a free hoodie, whether it is replying to an Instagram DM, whether it's getting on a podcast with a beautiful man like yourself, Elijah. I have this amazing vehicle to create sort of a really feeling and like be able to create like happiness, which is my sort of goal and my why, if you will.
Yeah, you touched on some things that I'm really excited to get into with you, George, in this conversation. And it's the fact that you're such a connector in nature. That's what you've said is one of the things that you most enjoy about having a streetwear brand. And what's always been obvious to me is the strength of community that Push Pull has. It's something that a lot of other more amateur brand owners look up to, they see, and they look at the achievement that is the community, the engagement, and how much your people love what you're doing. And maybe there's the disconnect between, well, how do I get there? I mean, I know that's something that I want, but how do I get there? So, George, I would really like, this is clearly a strength for Push Pull. I would love you to share a little bit about your thoughts behind your community. What are the steps? How has it become what it is today? And how could someone create their own community behind their own brand?
Yeah, I think it's a difficult question. I think there's no right or wrong answers with anything that I'm saying. I think it's more what's worked for us. But community's become quite like a buzzword or a popular term now when starting any business. Doesn't have to be streetwear. It could be whatever business it may be. But I think for us, like the way that we created it and fostered the community was really like, it's not easy. It's like a lot of hard work. It's a lot of like being personal. It's a lot of putting myself into sort of what we do. So whether that's I reply to every single DM, I'm sure some tend to get through the cracks, but if you go out of your way to send us a message or you want to give us feedback or you have an issue with a garment or you have anything that you want to share, like we create a space that's really safe. It's like, okay, you send us a message. It's always using your name, Elijah. It's having an actual conversation. It's not a robotic response like, hi, thank you for this response, blah, 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 blah. It's like, hey, mate, how you going? Hope you're having a really good day. Love to hear this, that, and the other. And fostering like real relationships. Like there's some people on there that I know I've never ever met before, but I feel like I know everything about them. I know what they're up to. It's like, oh my God, I've been doing this, that, the other. I'm like, oh my God, that's fantastic. I've got a boyfriend now. Do you have any advice? Like the places that we go to in our DMs, half the time I'm not even talking about what the clothes are. And half the time I'm not even talking about actual things about the business. It's about people personally. I think that's been like a really big thing of building connections within the brand and building sort of a brand loyalty as well, because I don't think that we're necessarily just the clothes. There's a message behind it, and there are people behind it. We like to put our face to the brand as well, me and Vincent, which is also like another layer of like, oh my God, these guys are just normal guys. Like, I'm not the most fashionable guy in the world. Well, I like to think so, but I may not be the most fashionable guy in the world. But what I am is like, I'm a real guy. And like, I'm happy to sit down. I'm happy to give people time of the day. I'm happy to provide a community and a space where you can be yourself. And that's all like we really asked for. So that's sort of how we did it. And then the other sort of facet and the other sort of layer that we do is we do a lot of in-person events. So
Mm.
a lot of meeting people. If you come to an event, it's sort of the same thing. Like, I'll make sure that I try to get to every single person that comes. Thank you for coming. Are you having a good time? Love to do giveaways at these events. Love to provide value. Like, that's like probably one of our biggest questions and motivators. Like, how are we providing value to people? Like, if you're going to come and show up to a pop-up, I want to make sure that it's worth your while. I don't want you to line up for 2 hours and go, oh, well, shit, I've missed out on this, that, the other. It's like, I lined up for 2 hours. I met the guy behind me. The guy who owns has spoken to me. I got a free t-shirt, this, that, the other. So it's a lot of that. It's actually a lot of hard work. It's not something that's easily fostered. It's a lot of hard work to make sure that you're providing a platform and the vehicle that people want to get in and want to be part of. And we have such beautiful people within the community too that like look after each other. Like, I can't tell you how many pop-ups I've been to, and people have made friends and they message a page like, oh, I've made this mate who's like a mate for life that they met at the pop-up, which is just amazing. Like, everyone really cares about each other, and we've sort of created a space where that's sort of allowed, because sometimes it's hard. Like, especially in fashion, I feel like sometimes fashion can be a little bit arrogant. It's a little bit like only a certain person can wear a certain thing, and only this type of a person can do this. Whereas like, I just want a space where everyone can wear whatever they want, however they want it, and style things however they want to, and be able to express themselves in that way.
George, you have dropped so many gems in all that. We need to unpack a lot of that. And for listeners that
I went on a bit of a
yeah,
tangent there, didn't I? Far out. Sorry.
there was a hell of a lot of gold in there. Oh my goodness. We're gonna slowly go back through all of that. But for listeners that are unsure, George dropped a name before. It was Vincent. Vincent is George's business partner, who's also working in push pull, of course. But I think it's really interesting. One of the main things that stuck out to me about what you just said was the fact that you try and respond to every single DM. It's not robotic, and you're not only talking about your clothing product. I'll tell a story that I remember reaching out to a brand. I can't remember what the topic of conversation was, or the reason for reaching out, but I got an instant response. But it wasn't the kind of instant response you like to see. It was an AI. Well, not even AI. It was a some sort of instant response DM bot that they had set up that said, thank you for contacting the brand name team. We'll get back to you when we can." And I just had to shake my head, little face palm moment, because it really doesn't feel like you're valued at all in that situation. I sure didn't. It wasn't a brand that I wanted to follow up with and continue communicating with. And it's much the same case with customers where the brands, if there is such a robotic response, maybe even an automatic DM response, it doesn't promote the connectivity that you are in push pull, that you're promoting in push pull. And like, I just think like it speaks for itself. That's some of the behind the scenes of it. But the very fact that someone can DM you and get an actual a real response from you, and it's not from a robot, and also the fact that you don't have to talk about clothing all the time. I think that there's something really powerful about that.
Yeah, 100%. Like, I think it's quite unique that you could get a direct line to a manager or an owner at any stage, whether like not like you have to go through this, that, the other. It's like, no, you can directly speak to us. And Vincent, who is my business partner, which thank you for pointing that out. I'm sorry if anyone's listening. I'm like, oh my God, who the hell is talking about? But he always has this saying where it's like, it's either a 1 day attitude or a day one attitude. No matter how big the brand is and no matter how many followers we have, it's still a small grassroots brand that like we will, if you have an issue, you can talk to me. We're not going to let like someone else handle it. We're not going to push it to the side, anything like that. It's like whatever, no, it doesn't have to be an issue. If you have something to share or you want to share something positive, like it's going to go straight to me. And it's like, or not to me, it's me and Vince and everyone, but it's a direct line straight to an owner of the business, which is something quite unique that we offer, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, it's kind of part of it's a shame that it's unique, um, uh, because it it should be the standard for business, in my opinion. This ability to build community. However, it also means that it makes it really easy for those that want to and desire to build a really strong community behind what they're doing. Maybe not easy is the right word, but more so simple. The door's wide open. There's an opportunity here that not everyone's jumping onto. That someone can start today. It's just about it's just about doing the things.
100%. And we are so blessed to have such an amazing team in here where everyone can really play to their strengths. Like I'm not formally trained in anything. Vince is not formally trained in anything. We have God's Way, Toby and Lucinda, who are all so amazing at their jobs and hardworking that allows me to be able to put in an hour or 2 or 3 hours or whatever the amount of hours is to be able to have that business. I don't think many people are lucky enough to have such an amazing supportive team that we have here. And like, yeah, I think the real value lies in that as well, where it's like having people that are able to do things like I'm not necessarily so good at. Whereas what I'm good at is building connections and meeting people and uh, being friendly and that sort of stuff. But then I have all the pieces around me and like a business partner that is so amazing and so driven and so fantastic at the creative side of things. I have Lucinda, who is amazing at getting all the admin done, and Toby and Godzo making videos and Toby doing animation that allows me to flourish in what I do. So not as many people are as blessed as I am to be able to have the people around them to make sure that they can do all these things. Because like so some people, if you're running a brand, it's like, oh my God, like I have to do the DMs, I have to do designs, I have to do the ordering, I have to talk to the supplier, whether that's overseas or here. It's just so daunting. So very, very blessed to have a team around me that allows me to be me and allows me to do what I'm good at, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it makes total sense, George. It makes total sense. I'd love you to speak on to someone who maybe doesn't have a team. They're an army of one. They have a 101 million things to do as a brand owner that wears many, many different hats. And they want to reply to every single message. Maybe it's hard to do. What would you say to that person? What advice would you have to be able to still build a community with limited time resources?
If that was me, I think it's just like setting clear parameters of like how much time you want to set to things. So it's like,
Mm,
okay, like it's really hard because sometimes you go down rabbit holes that you're like, oh my God, I've spent like 4 hours now coming up with a video idea. I've spent like 4 hours down design. So it's like, okay, I want to do the DMs. I'm setting myself an hour to do as much as I can, reply to
mm,
people, but maybe you might not be able to get to all of them. But I know what you can do. You can be polite. You can use people's names. You can show a genuine interest in what they have to say. You're better off replying to half of them and having an actual interest in what they're saying. Just go, oh, thank you, Elijah. Yep, get to this one. It's like, hey, Elijah, thank you so much for reaching out to us. Good to hear this, that, the other. So maybe it is only setting an hour, but it's like going really deep in that hour and using names, being respectful, being polite, and showing an interest. That's sort of the advice I'd give.
I think you touched on a really important point there, and it's maybe many brand owners fall into the trap, or business owners in general. I certainly do fall into the trap of putting certain tasks on the back burner, especially ones that aren't directly related to income that aren't income earning tasks.
Yeah, right.
And I think like answering DMs, for example, is one of those, because you cannot say, well, if I answer 50 DMs today, I'm going to convert 10% of them to sales, and therefore I'm going to make 5 sales. Average sale value is $50. Therefore, quick math for you, $250. There you go. Is that worth my time? It doesn't work like that.
Yeah.
And so, like, tasks like that sometimes go on the back burner. But what you're suggesting, George, if I've understood this correctly, is really to even so, to find the time to devote to it. It's better doing some than nothing. And even though, and this is my point that I'll throw in there, even though that it's not directly an income generating task, it is indirectly, because what you're doing is you're nurturing a customer base that you're setting them up to become repeat buyers again and again and again, increasing that lifetime customer value. And well, heck, I mean, that means you're able to sustain your streetwear brand for longer and go bigger. And it also means that, well, you can, I mean, there's only two ways to increase revenue. It's either increase the number of customers or the value of customers. And it means that you can make more money technically with the same amount of people simply by interacting with them in a deeper way. So yeah, really, thanks for sharing that point.
I think with that though, it's horses for courses. Like if you don't value the creating the community side, then go deep in whatever you want to do. But if that's something that you do value and that's something that you want, you have to do things properly. Like I would say not half
Yes.
do things. Like, okay, even if you're going to dedicate only an hour to it, let's do that hour properly. And let's
Yes.
make sure that these people have a feeling of connectivity and make sure that's how you create loyal customers as well. But for a different brand, you know, you might have the sickest garments. And if your garments are that sick, then go deep in that. Spend 8 hours a day making sure that you have cutting edge garments, you have cutting edge design. There's no right way or wrong way to build a community, by the way. This is just the way we do it. Some people
Yeah.
communities by having the most amazing, like our clothes are unbelievable and the quality is unbelievable and everything like that. But some people like really want to be on the cutting edge of things and doing garments we haven't seen before, reworks, whatever it may be. If that's the way that you want to build the community, then go deep in that. Whatever it is, just go deep in it and work out, okay, what is our selling point? What is bringing people together? What feelings do we want to evoke when we do these things?
Yeah, couldn't agree more with you, George. There is no one way to do it. This is the way that push pull is doing it,
Correct.
and it's a way that has worked for you guys.
For us, yes. But yeah, I don't
Yeah.
want to sit here and say you have to reply to DMs and you have to do this, you have to do that, because you don't. It's all about finding the method that works for you, and it's all about working out what that method is and going, deep into it and working out the purpose behind what you do. That's a big thing. What we do here is like work out what the purpose is. It's not just, okay, we're going to do it to make money. It's like, okay, why are we doing this? Why? What is the feeling we want people to feel when we do this? So,
Yeah, George, when I met with you for a coffee in Melbourne, I shared this story with you, but I'm going to share it again because I mean, I don't think many have heard it. It's that when I was traveling in the UK, I met this guy in a bar, and he was decked out in push pull merch, like head to toe. He had the socks, he had the pants, he had the t-shirt, he had the jumper, even had a bag. Like he was decked. You guys did rings too. He had the ring. He was decked out like head to toe. You couldn't have been wearing more push pull merch. And I saw him, and of course, knowing of your brand, I went up to him and introduced myself and said, "Oh man, I love your push pull stuff, man. That's great." And he told me about how he connects and relates with push pull, and he's just telling me how much he loves the brand. And he said, well, his sister got him into it, and they wait up together with the latest clothing drops that push pull is doing, and they buy the gear. And man, I think that's such a great, like, it's hard to sometimes be connected, I find, with the real stories, with the individuals, when it's views, when it's numbers, when it's followers, when it's even sometimes Instagram DMs, when you can't see their face. And man, that was a great reminder for me that these are these are real, like every single one of those views and every single one of those messages is a real person, has a whole life, and is actually like really engaged. It sounds kind of basic, but I mean, this is for me. I forget this. They're actually like it's a real person engaging with your stuff,
100,
and
100%.
yeah.
Didn't mean to cut you
No,
off.
I was just saying like that was a fantastic reminder. And anyway, I just wanted to share that with you as well because I thought that's a great success story for what your community has done in real lives for real people.
I mean, yeah, like we have 60,000 followers at the moment, roughly. Like for me, that's a room of 60,000 people. That's like
Mm,
filling up a three-quarters of the G. And those people follow us, and it's like, okay, these people are real people. They have real stories and stuff like that. And I think what we're talking about before, like someone that buys everything like that, that's a byproduct of all these things we just spoke of. And we like to
yes.
sometimes think of the clothes as like merchandise to what we're doing. And also, it's like, I almost feel like even when I wear my push pull stuff, there's a sense of like pride. It's like putting your footy team colors on, and you might bump into someone also wearing push pull, and you're like, oh my God, like there's like this connection because you both sort of know. It's like, hey, I don't know. It's really hard to explain, but there's that sense of pride. It's like putting your footy colors on when you put on your push pull hoodie. Well, that's why I like to think of it. But yeah, it's amazing to hear stuff like that. And that's what we're trying to do. And as I said at the start, is like build these connections and have people that, to hear that someone's closer with their sister and they bond over their mutual love for what we do, that just makes my job all the more worth it and makes all the hard work so amazing because we're having actual real effects on real people. And it is easy. Like you can say, oh my God, fuck, I wish we got 10,000 likes or this amount of likes. Like if 10,000 people like a thing, that is 10,000 different people that have seen something that you've produced or seen a bit of content that you've made and they've engaged with it, which is just insane.
Yeah. Yeah, that is insane. I love that you compare push pull to putting on a footy jersey, because I don't think there's a better example for what community is. Like we go, if you go to any sort of sports game, there's team colors, and all of a sudden something changes from everyday life, and it's simply because you're wearing the same colors as someone else. You have a connection that you didn't have before. Now you're less strangers than you were, and there's a brotherhood about that, and so I think it's you're right in saying it's much the same with brands that prioritize building communities such as push pull, because that's when the push pull brand logo that someone wears proudly on their chest, that unites them with a a community of others who want to represent the same ideas, and and share, maybe they share interests, or maybe they share beliefs or values, and there's some differences too, probably more differences than similarities, but the point is there's some unity that allows people to buy into something that's more than just a clothing product, but they're actually buying into a community,
Yes.
and that is like some I think many times the intangible effects or the intangible value of tangible products is more valuable, is worth more
Some
than just
Yeah, somebody doesn't buy socks, pants, hoodie, hat, and bag because they like the clothes, in my opinion.
no,
Like,
mine too. I agree with you.
like you're buying that because you believe in the message. You do that because you align with what they're sort of doing. You align with the energy. You align with the space that they're creating, and it almost becomes like second nature. It's like, yeah, I want to support these guys because they support me, and it's almost a sense of like, I don't want to speak for other people, but it's like pride in when you put that jumper on. It's like, okay,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah.
I think it really transcends that. It's not just a jumper anymore. It's like, okay, this is a whole community, or like a community, we keep saying it, but it's a whole sort of message that I think is sort of which they may think aligns with them. And that's sort of where it breaks from just being a hoodie. It becomes much more than that. Or it
Yes.
breaks from being a hat or a ring. No one's gonna buy all that stuff just because they think it's cool.
Mm. Yeah, man, you are spitting straight facts, man. I I can't remember who said it, but the quote goes something like, "People buy for a feeling, and they justify with logic. And so
It's not
the
bad.
logic behind streetwear is this hoodie is 300 GSM. That's logic, right? It is, well, is it's the I don't know if it's logos. I don't know. I'm not going to go there about the Latin whatever. But yeah, the point is that's the logic behind buying it. But initially, as you say, people aren't just going to put that much money on the table just because they think a garment is cool. Like it goes so much deeper and beyond the garment.
Correct.
And it's really because people are buying because of feeling, or maybe even more so their identity, or their aspired identity, who they want to tell the world that they are. Because there's symbols of status when we buy high fashion, and there's symbols of being a part of a community when we buy into push pull. And so that's man, that's hella valuable. Yeah. Look, George, you mentioned before that that you that push pull is selling this message, and that's what people are buying into. I'd love to know, what is push pull's message? What is the message that specifically that they're buying into?
Um, yeah. So the message that we sort of I alluded to a little bit earlier is just a space where you can be yourself. It's everyday people. It's not people that are too cool for school, or there's no really barrier of entry to be a part of the community. You don't have to look a certain way. You don't have to be a certain thing. It's
Mm,
be whoever you want to be and however you want to be it, and you're still going to be treated the same way. And whether you're got 50,000 followers or you got 5 followers, you're still going to get a response. You're still going to get your name used. You're still going to be treated like that. I always send discount codes. If people ask for it, you're going to probably get a discount code. It's not just reserved for a certain type of person. It's for everyone. I think it's really like a lot of people say it to us. So I actually don't even say it. It's really for the people. Like it's not just for a certain demographic. It's not just for a certain look. It's for everyone.
yeah, that's a really positive message, and I suppose having that driving everything you do,
What do you think,
every
Jen? Like for you, what do you think the message looks like from the outside looking in? Like if you look at our Instagram, you look at the social channels, you look at the stories, like what do you think
that's
comes?
a really that's a really good question, George.
Because it's easy for me
I
because I'm in it,
y-
like all the way
yes,
in.
yeah, yeah. Okay, on so I looking from the outside, I think the message appears to me that it's about. I think your message is about relationships, like relationship and connectivity. And the reason I say that is because some of the content you post, I mean, I do want to get into this a bit later, but with your in-person events and things like that, your movie night, that's what comes to mind, your movie night. And I go, that inherently doesn't have anything to do with your product. That has to do with your brand message, maybe a bit more what's behind the product. And so I see it about connectivity. And look, yeah, I think the important point there for like a lot of the times I'll try and like look for a brand's message or something. I'll usually go to their about page. I think some brands do a really good job at externalizing their brand message through their marketing and through their content. Other brands not so much. And I think there is an importance to doing so, because well, that's how you become authentic. It's when you act according to your words, act according to what you say on your about page or something like that, for example. So yeah, I think in many ways push pull has done a good job of that by posting things that aren't inherently about the product but about the message that you're sharing. Yeah, and there's hints of creativity in there, like a brand for creative minds, I think. But yeah, I don't know, what are your thoughts on what I've said?
Yeah, I think what you're saying is yeah, it's true. Like I guess that's sort of what we want to do. It's not just one facet, and the message is different for everyone. It's like you might
Mm,
one thing and it might mean something else to someone else, and it might mean something else to someone else. So that's the beauty of it, isn't it? And that's the beauty of sort of what we do in a creative industry, that like it could be perceived in so many different lights in so many different ways. So no, I think it's interesting to get the feedback, and I love hearing feedback from people of what they think of certain things, and that especially at a deeper level, rather than, oh yeah, this looks fantastic. So yeah, well, I think it's holding this sort of a message and the undertones of that, which I find very interesting.
Yeah. George, how do you go about externalizing that message in your brand? Because if it wasn't externalized, then no one would have any idea. But I'm curious, is that a thought that is
Yeah.
that something that you guys think about?
So it's like, again, showing a lot of me and Vincent in photos, videos. There's a lot of giveaways. There's a lot of resharing what people say in the DMs on the stories, so people know that like this is a place where you can have a joke, have a laugh. It's a lot of not doing completely serious stuff. There's some stuff that is serious in the photo shoots and stuff, but there's also funny skit videos that we do of ourselves. So it's showing that we don't have to take ourselves too seriously. Like we always like
Yeah.
to take our work seriously, but we don't take ourselves too seriously. So it's like a combination of a lot of things. It's not just like, hey, we're really cool and fun and you can do this all the time. It's like putting it in all these different things and showing that, whether it's through video content, stories, TikToks, or whether it is replying to DMs, whether it's resharing those DMs, whether it's having a giveaway, an in-person event, doing a podcast, that's the way we sort of externalize what we're doing. And the message more so.
Yeah. Yeah, really love it. I want to pivot a little bit to talking about these in-person events. I don't know the story of your first one, so I'd love for you, George, to tell that story. When was your first in-person event, and what was it? How did it go? Tell everything you want about it.
So the boys sort of, before even I started working here, they were doing vintage, and they reckon that, or they did like 40 events in a year, like Campbell markets, like different vintage markets, things like that. So they had like a good base of that. But when I got there, we did this like a collaboration with Yochi. Well, a collaboration would be a loose term. I think we thought it was a collaboration. I think they more did us a solid and let us print tote bags, Yochi, and push pull, and have an event at their space. But it went well. To everyone, you just learn a bit more and you just like gather information. And then the next one we did a Boxing Day sale that went absolute bananas. We would have got like a few thousand people there. The next one we did, there was probably like close to 5,000 people there. The next one we did was sort of similar along those lines. And I think you just learn on how to operate one. But again, going back to what we're saying, the community stuff, like always, if you're coming to an event and you've taken the time out of your day and you put a day aside to get there, like I want to make sure that I've done everything in my power to make sure that you have a positive day, whether that's creating good energy within the store, whether it's, I will try to speak to everyone that comes. And then we always like to provide some sort of value. So we've done $2 t-shirts, we did free tote bags, we gave presents to everyone in line, depending on what it is. We've got another pop-up coming up mid-year sale where we've got a few things up our sleeve. We're not going to give them away just as yet, but we've got a few things up our sleeve for that as well. So we always want to provide value. You come out of your day to come see us. Like we want to push pull pop up to be like, yeah, I want to go to that. It's like, oh my God, I have to wait in line. Like probably not going to get what I want. It's like, no, I want to go to that and I want to experience it. That's sort of what I try to do and what we try to do with each pop-up and in-person event. In-person events are sick though. Like sales are like that, but then we also do other ones, as you mentioned, like the movie night. Like the start of summer, like that's almost like a core childhood memory for me, is like summer holidays, go to the movies. And we thought, what better way to give back? Like we emailed our top 200 customers from the year before, like, hey, if you want to get seats early, and we sold the rest of it $5. We had tote bags, movie posters, popcorn, choc top. We put the movie on Hideout at the cinema. So it was cool to be able to do something like that for people that support you, and then for the other people that just want to come and show up and get a sense of what the brand is and the vibe of what we're doing. Like you come $5 and you'll get way more value than that.
Yeah,
The
that's
$5 was almost just to make sure people came. Like if it was for free, like we would have done it for free, if that makes sense. But the $5 almost like, okay, like sell the tickets so they would come.
mm. Events like this. It seems to me like yeah, I don't think it's totally crazy to say they cost a lot of time and money resources to run something like this. Why then, George, is it so valuable to push pull for running these events if they are so resource intensive? Why do you still do them?
Because let's say you get sort of 100 people there, 200 people there. It's like those 200 people have now sort of got a real insight into what we're doing and know that we care, and they've met us and they've become customers for life. And that's like loyalty there. It's like we're not just an Instagram page now. It's like real people, and they're doing real
Yeah.
tangible benefits. Not just like, okay, like I'm gonna get around these guys and they're just gonna take my money. It's like no, like they're gonna actually scratch our back as well. And they're gonna keep coming back and keep buying into the message and keep liking photos and keep commenting on things and keep entering giveaways, because we're not just going to say, oh, yeah, hey, this, that, the other. So, no, we're tangibly going to give you those benefits that we promise on.
Yeah, and you summarized it perfectly. I think it comes back to maybe something I was saying before about non-income earning tasks that can't be directly related to profits. Like they don't have a profit center.
Yeah.
And for in-person events like this, they are not a profit center because you're running them at a loss many times, and you're giving away products and
May,
it's time.
but it may
Go
not be
ahead.
directly profit, but indirectly, I guarantee it will be.
That's right. And that's what I was getting at. Sorry, yeah, go ahead, please talk on that.
Sometimes I reckon the majority of people that win a giveaway with us will always become a customer after. Like even if
Wow.
that, like even if they weren't, like we randomly do the giveaway, so a lot of the time they haven't been customers before. Like probably two of our best customers and two of our best like people that buy into the community, they started from winning a giveaway. So it's like that,
Yeah.
that creates like a different level of like appreciation and like brand loyalty in a way.
When you say two of your best, it sounds like you're speaking about two very specific people. You don't have to drop their names. I mean, you could, but can you, I'm really curious, who are they and like, what are their attributes? What are they doing that makes you say they're your best?
What they would do is like they're commenting, liking, engaging, DMing. Also on top of that, like purchasing, but like the other stuff's even more valuable. It's like everything we're doing and putting out, they're invested in and they believe in sort of it. So whether it's a giveaway, talking about an Instagram reel, and it's a giveaway, they're commenting, tagging friends, getting more people, and they're almost like having actual human like advertisements. Like if someone's talking about clothes, you best believe they're talking about us, and they're talking about us in like a really positive way, and spreading our message through like real people that isn't us, and that stuff's almost again invaluable.
That is invaluable. Yeah. Yeah. I like to call customers like that super fans. They're super fan customers. And the thing about super fan customers is you cannot promote your way to super fan customers. Like there's no amount of amazing designs that you could put out that would have made way for a customer to build that relationship with your brand, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, and like those super customers aren't something, or super customers, I don't want to say the super customers. I just think that they're like amazing people. But these like amazing people that get behind us, like it never goes unnoticed. So it's like, hey, they miss out on something, like, I'll send it to them. Or, hey, I really like this stuff. You know what? Like you can get it early because they do such amazing things for us. And that's how you, again, build that community. It's like not just assuming, oh, yeah, these people are going to buy everything, so I'm just going to neglect them. It's like putting just as much work into them as you are on a new customer. Because
Yeah.
that's what we do is like we work really hard from turning a follower into a customer. And once they're a customer, still maintaining that same work of like making sure that they're still engaged and still involved in sort of what we're doing.
Yeah, you touch on a really good point there. That you work hard not only on obtaining the customer, but also retaining the customer. So
Yeah,
not just obtaining, but also retaining. So keeping them.
yeah,
And it reminds me that it's more expensive to get a new customer than to keep an old one. That
correct.
is more expensive because if you I think about this like a marketing funnel. If you have the top of the funnel, which are complete strangers, people that have no idea about what you've done, then you have the bottom of funnel. And think of them as the person that's bought from your brand. It's a customer. It's a lot longer of a trip from stranger to buy
Yeah.
than from buy to buy again.
Yes, correct. Yes.
And you can't just think about that in terms of, well, that's a long trip. This is like I'm talking in money. This is dollars here, because how much does it cost to obtain one customer? You have your ad spend, you have your time spent on reels and organic reach content. Maybe there's some influencer marketing in there that's reaching out and leveraging a new audience. These are all tasks that are to do with obtaining new customers. And then on top of that, and then other than that, of course, you have the nurture aspect, which is sometimes more important.
Which is true. I'll get Vincent. Vincent here. Give you one. Give
Oh,
one.
Vincent.
Hi, mate.
Hello, Vincent.
How are you?
Well, how you doing, Vincent?
Give him one piece
What's
of
happening?
wisdom for the podcast.
What's happening?
Just give a piece of wisdom. What's your
What
best
wisdom?
advice? Any
Oh,
advice?
best advice.
Maybe
Oh,
the
shit.
dinosaur.
What do I tell you?
I said day one mentality. I've said that one. Give a good one.
Piece of advice.
I will get to your point after this.
I think you just got to the older that I've gotten, time goes really quick. So why subscribe to what others think? Just rip the band-aid off and do what you want to do.
That's good, Vincent.
Stop
Yeah,
him.
that's
There
good.
you go. That's me done.
That's the real wisdom. But and how beautiful! Look how good he looks at the moment. Got a fresh haircut, by the way. All the listeners at home.
Yeah, he does. He does look good, man. I think Vincent's been on here for a couple of seconds. I think we need to make him the thumbnail. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh, that was a bit. I'm not going to take that personally, but yeah, we can make him a thumbnail.
I'm sorry, George. I'm sorry.
But yeah, no, what you're saying is correct at the top of funnel, bottom of funnel. And you know what? What's not lost on me is like money at the moment is tight, and like people are spending to get a hoodie. You're gonna have to work. You know, most people are generally younger audience for us, so yeah, 18 to 30. So you're probably working 3 or 4 hard hours to get these hoodies, and that's not lost on us. So it's like, you know, we don't want to be like, hey, you're going to spend and buy a hoodie with us. Like, we're very thankful for that. So we want to put the work in. Like, once you're a customer, it's like, okay, we're giving you all the things you want to become a repeat customer, because, man, there are so many, I'm sure you've spoken to them, amazing clothing brands, and they're doing amazing stuff. So, you know, we got to put a pretty good fucking reason. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. We should have a very good reason on why you're buying our hoodies, rather than all these amazing hoodies or t-shirts or jackets, whatever the case, saying hoodies. But if you want to buy garments from us, you better have a good reason, because everyone else is doing such amazing work. We need to have a good point of difference. But yeah, we work hard, because like once you're a customer, you're already following, you're already engaged, you already know how good the quality is. Like our hoodie quality is second to none, and our t-shirt quality and our pants quality, they're all second to none. So we love once someone's got something, because they know that like the stuff doesn't really tend to break, and the stuff's really good quality, and you wash it and it's saying the same. So there's that element as well.
Yeah, I said it before that there's only 2 ways to make more money, and it's either to get more customers or increase the value of your customers, or both, right? And I see a lot of brands that only focus on getting more customers and forget the fact that actually with their current customer base, they're able to do, I mean, there's tasks you can do, like increasing the quality of your garments to make it more valuable to a customer, that they're going to feel the material and just be wowed by the effort and the time you put into something like this. They're going to fall in love with the garment. It's going to be something that doesn't wear down, as you say, and appreciate the quality, and something that they like. People buy from those they know, like, and trust. And so if you have a bunch of customers that know, like, and trust your brand because of the garment, the product that you're putting out to the world, for one, they're so much more likely to keep coming back more and more time and time again. Yeah.
No, 100%. Like, yeah, there's that as well. And then there's all this other stuff we've been talking about. So if we're hitting on all these things and we're doing all these things, that's fingers crossed that we keep growing and getting better. But that's the hard bit about what we do, hey, and that's the hard bit about owning a business is you just try to be always doing these things because it is so competitive. But I also feel like high tides rise all boats. So like if everyone's doing well and all these people are doing amazing stuff, it creates more of an interest into streetwear and more of an interest into clothing, which is good. But yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I do see that you do truly believe in that statement because you're here giving advice. You're sharing some of the strategies that Push Pull has implemented, that are put into place for free, right? You're putting this out into the world, and that shows me that you really do believe that. Well, there's pie for everyone.
Yeah, there
right?
is, and that's my why. Is like I just want to help people. Like that said, like if anyone gets anything from this, then fantastic. If one person listens to it, great.
Yeah.
And they get any nugget of wisdom from that. Whether I can give someone a hoodie to make someone's day, like I just keep a box of hoodies in my car always, and a box of t-shirts in my car always. Meet someone, hey, I love the stuff. No worries, come to my car. Here, I have a hoodie. Here, I have a t-shirt. Or whether it's someone shares something really special on the DMs, like if I can help someone in any way, I will always try my hardest to do that. Do a lot of work with like underprivileged kids, like a lot of work with cancer hospitals and stuff like that. That's all I want to do. And if I'm able to do that, that makes me happy. So yeah.
Coming back to your in-person events, George, do you have one story that from a customer or from someone who attended one of your events that is the pinnacle reason that summarizes everything you're doing, the why behind you doing it, and what drives you to really get out of bed in the morning and do it on the hard days?
Okay, I don't need to think about that question, but one that's off the top of my head is there were these two girls that were in line at the pop-up, and they've obviously been in line for a couple of hours now, and then they've become friends and they're messaging and they've got their stuff together, and then they went and had a coffee after the pop-up together, sent photos, whatnot. And then they message us again, like, oh my God, we're out for drinks. And then they message us again. And like these two people have just created this amazing friendship from just standing in line.
Oh my goodness.
It is just like makes everything I do or we do as a team worth it. Is like to bring two people together through us, like fucking clothes. Like, you serious? Like,
yeah.
It just puts such a smile on my face that an event could do that. And there's heaps of stories like that. There's like we've got models from people who have lined up. Like I've made personal friends. There's a guy called TJ. He's an absolute legend. That's a lovely guy. Like we've made friends from meeting in the line. You get to meet all these people that I DM every day. You go in the line, and you actually meet them. Oh my God, there were these two mums that drove from Adelaide to Melbourne, waited in line for a day, and they were first in line. And we just said, you know what, you can have XYZ garments for free. You guys are the best. Like, go do that. And like,
that's awesome.
Things like that, being tangible. It's so good to do things through social media platforms, but to get things in person is like just fantastic, and it makes me so happy, and it brings such a smile to my face to tangibly see people bringing people together and seeing the community and seeing these like-minded individuals all together interacting with each other. It's just fantastic. We've never had one like issue at a pop-up ever. Some people cut in line, but but I've never had anyone be disrespectful. I've never had anyone do anything untoward. I've never had anyone make anyone feel out of place, which is a credit to what we've built and a credit to the people in it.
Yeah. Look, I know this is not necessarily what's motivating you guys creating these types of events, but it sure is a byproduct of them. And I like to use the example of a gym, like these two girls that met in the line. If you go to the gym by yourself, you're much more likely to cancel that membership. Whereas if you go to the gym with a friend, you have a system of accountability there. You have a shared interest with someone, and it makes it so it exponentially increases the likelihood of you doing that thing, of going to the gym simply because someone is there with you and doing it. because not only are you going to the gym, you have more reasons than one now as well. It's not just for the fitness, it's also for the connectivity with a friend. And so I think it is much the same. It is really no different for a streetwear brand. And this is much of the benefit of an in-person event. So like these two girls, if someone's a customer of a streetwear brand and they're there behind their screen interacting with social media, it's cool. They can love the brand. They might even stick around. But if you have an in-person event and that person happens to make friends with someone in the line, and now maybe like the guy I met in the UK who waits up with his sister, you've got more reason than one to be very closely connected and committed to a brand, and that is so strong. That is so very strong, and it is really, it can only be achieved with in-person events like this.
Was
So
it what we're saying with the footy club? Or maybe you like
yeah,
rugby in Brisbane. Do you like the Broncos?
I like soccer, football. Yeah,
Who do you go for?
I like Real Madrid.
Do you like Real Madrid because you like soccer? Or do you like Real Madrid for the history? You like Real Madrid for the players? You like Real Madrid for always being the Champions League final? Ronaldo, the memories behind what it is, or is it just like I like I like push pull because I like t-shirts, hoodies, pants, and streetwear? It's no, you like it for all the external reasons, and it's all
Yes.
the things he talks about. Or you might like a different brand because they have the sickest clothes, or you might like a different brand because you love the way they fit. But there's never just because you like the clothes. It's always going to be for external reasons.
Yep.
It's with anything, really. But
It's
especially
so
when it
true.
comes to creative things, and especially when it comes to like clothing or sporting teams or things where there's like massive choice,
Mhm.
you resonate with stuff for things that are much more deeper than you probably even know.
Yeah.
That's the funny thing about doing it is like you realize that everything is planned, everything is methodical, and everything is done for a reason.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. 100%, George. Hit the nail on the head. For someone, look, when you guys did your first community in-person event, how, like, what kind of size was push pull at that point?
We would have had about the first one I did would have been like 6,000-7,000 followers, maybe. I
Yeah,
think
right.
Instagram followers is the metric you want to use.
Yes, or um revenue or any other thing of like resources, just to get an idea for.
Let's just use Instagram followers. I reckon that's a good
Yeah.
of like size. Yeah, maybe like 6,000-7,000.
Yeah. See, I'm just curious if you could touch on the fact, or touch on the topic of creating in-person events, especially for brands of little resources. So they don't have the same manpower, or maybe they don't even have the same sales. How would you go about doing it with little resources?
So I have a mate of mine who does rings. His name's Jim. Yeah, he does 9.25 rings. Plug. I don't know if anyone listens, but if they do listen, go follow him on Instagram. He does all these events, and they don't have to be grand. They don't have to be huge. He does this famous market here in Victoria called the Camberwell Market. Goes there, brings his rings, get up there nice and early Sunday morning. He's driving up to Byron. He's doing a market there. He does vintage events. You don't have to sit here and be like, oh, I'm going to make this thing. Like communities and build overnight. It's like you might have a regular spot at a market and you're there for 20 weeks of the year. You meet people. It's the same people. You might bring customers there. Maybe you want to throw something like a really small scale that isn't much
Yeah.
cost. Those are the things that matter. What matters is creating the connections, meeting people, and maybe you're finding a budget. You can give some stuff for free. I always find that's an amazing way to build loyalty to the brand and build a connection with the brand because you've done them a favor. And it's like, if I've decided, hey mate, let's drive down to the cafe and I'll drive you up, pay for your coffee, get your food. Like you're gonna feel like, oh my god, he's such a nice guy, and like they've done the right thing by me. I'll do the right thing by them. So if you could free up any allocation of stock that you could give away for free, and you're available and you're there and you put your best foot forward, you're energetic, you're really interested in what people have to say, and you're thankful and grateful for people to come. Like, I think that's a really good way. And there's like a market stall here is like $50. Like we can all find $50 to do it. If you're serious about making your brand a thing, you got to be serious about waking up on a Sunday, and you got to be serious about doing those things, because they're not easy either. Like when people aren't doing it, it's not easy. Like it's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to roll out of bed. This is so exciting. I'm going to have 1,000 people lining up. It's like, no, like you've got to roll up. You got to expect maybe a handful coming, but you've got to put your best foot forward.
I think much of the problem is that people they look up to brands, and it appears as though they rolled out of bed and woke up with 1,000 followers or 1,000 customers waiting at the door, when really it's not the case. And
you don't want it to be the case either. You don't just want
no,
TikTok and have 1 million views and then you have 10,000 followers. You don't, or 20,000 followers, 30,000 followers. That doesn't actually like build the steady foundation. It doesn't put a good foundation for you to build that house. Whereas like if you do all these little steps, like we don't want to miss steps here. Like do all the little steps that get you to that point. And then, you know what? Sometimes you take a couple steps back to go 3 steps forward. All about just being persistent and showing.
Yeah.
Like you have to show up. Like even with us, like if you commit to doing X amount of Instagram posts, you have to do it. If you commit to doing 10 events, you got to do those 10 events. Have to.
Yeah. I've been thinking on the topic of resource allocation a lot recently, as it being for my own business, as it being one of the greatest skills that I could build. Simply deciding, well, I've got some extra cash. It shouldn't sit in the bank, because otherwise that's just doing nothing, right?
Correct.
If I am to invest it, what am I to invest it in? That's resource allocation. And I don't think it's any different for streetwear brands. I mean, I certainly haven't nailed resource allocation. But as you said, George, if someone listening is truly serious about their brand, it's time to invest resources into these types of things. And it's not even that much. As you say, go get a market stall for $50. Or heck, maybe if you can, I'm going to throw this out there. If you can organize a day trip with your friends, you can organize a community event, and most people can do that much. Yeah, it's hard and it's simple. It's hard and it's simple.
Well, the greatest thing you can invest with your resources is your time. If you want to allocate 10 hours a week to your business, that's roughly, I don't know, let's say we're on $30 an hour. That's a $300 investment. If you want to put 40 hours a week in, that's times that by 4. If you want to put a year's worth of work of 40 hours a week, that's $100,000 investment. Like you got to put time, like not just money. Money comes, money goes. You can work out of ways that you can do things without it breaking the bank, but you got to put the time in. So the more time you can allocate to your business, the more serious it can get. Like the second, like I know people got to put food on the table. It's really easy for me to say that, but you got to put food on the table, pay the bills, make sure the lights are on, which is reasonable. But whatever you can allocate outside of that, you can put that towards your business. That is the number one resource. That is the most important. I guarantee it's not money. You can pump in, like, I guess to some degree, like you can pump in $1 million and you can make anything work. But for every Tom, Dick, and Harry, like that is more important than saying, yeah, I'm going to do $5,000 to do these things. Like, okay, no, how much time are you going to actually spend on this business? Like that's what matters to, I think.
Yeah. And for that reason, I think making the jump from doing your streetwear brand as a side hustle alongside your day job to full-time, quitting the day job, in my opinion, is one of the best things you can do. Because all of us, yes, it's a risk. It is a risk, right? There's no doubt about that. Like, we need to acknowledge that. It's a really big step, especially if there are other responsibilities. But I mean, if you can save up a bit of money, if you can have that as an emergency fund, how many days do I have until, if I made no money, until I go broke? And just having that time to invest 100% into your brand, I just think is one of the best things that you can do. I mean, I did it with my business, and that, for a long time I was doing it as a, split commitments, right? It's my business and then everything else. And the amount of progress that I've seen in the last very short amount of time has probably double or triple what I've been able to do in the past in a year.
Well, just
And
you're double or tripling your time you've spent on it.
yeah,
Like,
well, yeah, that's right.
it just makes sense, right? You're going to get 3 times of the output because you're putting 3 times in, you're putting 3 times more input in.
Yeah,
Like it happens to pretty much everyone. Like as soon as you're dedicating the time and love and care that your business doesn't have to be a clothing brand, but your business deserves, it's always going to become better, and you're always going to get better outputs.
Did you start in push pull full time?
No, well, we were very blessed that sort of COVID happened, and we're all getting job seeker payments, so all 3 of us were able to go full time.
Oh, that's amazing. But you weren't working in push pull before COVID, is that correct?
Correct, but we weren't paying ourselves from the brand.
Yeah,
But none of us
right.
are getting paid from the brand. We were all just getting these payments. So I didn't collect a paycheck from Push Pull till I worked here for like a year and a half.
Yeah. I mean, that's what it takes because you got to invest 100% back in. That's how you.
No, none of us got a paycheck till COVID finished.
Yeah, I mean that's the way it always is though. Because if people, it just depends. If someone wants to scale with speed, and it should never be the mindset of speed. I think you need to be committed into it. But if you want to scale faster than you would otherwise, if you're serious about this, I mean, it needs to be 100% back in for a good amount of time. I mean, you can't put a number on it. It depends, right?
100%,
But yeah.
100%. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, George, I mean, this has been a fantastic conversation. I really appreciated you sharing your insights about how to build a community behind your streetwear brand, how you guys are doing it in push pull and doing it so very well. If you were to share one last piece of value with listeners before you leave them, hopefully not for the last time, what would that silver bullet be?
Oh, that's a hard one. But if I was to give anyone any advice, it's just, yeah, it's just find what you're passionate about. And it's so easy to say, but it's find what you're passionate about, and whatever that is, just go deep in it and like really find what you're passionate about, go deep in it, and like leave no stone unturned, and make sure you're doing the thing how you want to do it. Don't be influenced by how everyone else is doing it. Don't feel like you have to do anything. It's how you want to do it, and make sure that all stones are turned and you've done what you need to do to give yourself the best opportunity to make whatever your passion is a job.
Yeah. I
Because
don't know if you
work, like dude said, I barely work. Like for me, this is just like what I love doing. Like I actually don't feel sometimes I'm even working. Like sometimes I just feel like I'm live this like life that's so blessed and grateful. I'm so fortunate that I get to do something I'm passionate about. And like, it's
yeah.
just the best.
That's awesome, George. Yeah. I don't know if you've found this to be the case, but drive and willpower can only get you so far. It only got me so far until I really had to stand back, reevaluate, and go, what's the reason I fell in love with this whole thing in the first place? That is where the sustainability comes from because there's always going to be hard days. And having that strong why, that purpose, and finding your passion in what you're doing, because it can get lost very easily. I lost it recently. Yeah. So, and I'm in a process of finding it again. So that's more for me than anyone, George. Thank you.
We love that. No, yeah. Well, you'll get back on that journey, and you have
Yeah.
a really strong passion into this. And I got a sense of that when we met up for coffee. So you'll be fine. Just keep doing what you love and keep going deep in it and keep that drive and willpower, and the rest will be right for you, I promise.
Thanks, George. Appreciate that. I really do love this. It's such a great space, and having people like you in it makes it all the better. Because you're not only creating community with push pull in your brand, you're creating community personally, George, as an individual, and I can say that for myself in the connection that we've had. So a massive testament to the person you are and your integrity. Thank you, George.
Thank you for those kind words. I appreciate it. And it was great catching up, and hopefully someone's taken something out of this. And yeah, other than that, you have a really good rest of the day.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on the show, George. See you later.
Anytime. See you later, mate.